Boker Tov. Today's daf is Daf Kuf Zayin and Yevmot says we learn for a four Shlema for Elazar ben Ruma and Yosef Israel ben Chaim Michal. Yesterday we saw the Mishnah. this parak that we start today is really the main topic here is miyun. Miyun is again a kedushin drabanan where the woman is not allowed to be. It can no longer have a kedushin d'oraisa because her father's not in the picture. Either he's dead or he married her off once already, and therefore he's not entitled to marry her off again. But in order that she shouldn't be loose in the streets and people take advantage of her, the rabbi said that her mother or her brothers can marry her off, but it's not really a kedusha minat Torah. She's not really married minat Torah. So therefore, she can walk away from the marriage at any time, up until the age of 12. The Rambam says that below the age of 6, she doesn't even need miyan because it's meaningless. She's like a little child playing there. It doesn't mean anything. From 6 to 10, we check her to see if she understands what kedushin is. Did she keep her ring? And they gave her kedushin. They made a marriage of sorts, like the rabbi said, like a kedushin d'oraisa. They gave her a ring or star kedushin. If she's able to guard it and understands the value of it, then she needs miyan. If she doesn't understand it, she doesn't even need miyan. It's meaningless. It's just like they're playing with her. That's all. They're protecting her, but doesn't even need miyan. Above the age of 10, then she definitely needs miyan up until the age of 12. If she stays married to him after the age of 12, we'll talk about later on, does she have to have beer with him after the age of 12 or just stay with him? Is that considered enough that she needs a regular get now or not? That we'll see later on. So the Mishnah says, like we saw yesterday, we'll repeat the Mishnah again. Beishami Omer Eiman and Ela Rusas. Only in a Rusa. If she actually married the person, then there's no miyan. There's no miyan. In other words, you can't do miyan after if he took her in, if he consummated with her. Even if she's 8 years old, he consummated with her. According to Beis Shammai, there is no miyan. Miyan is only with this kedushin. We'll see why in the Gemara. Beis Omer, Arusas ben Asu. It's not like we always understand. Even if he consummates with her, you could still do miyan. Beisham Yomer Babal takes out the love. It means the same thing. Beis Omer Babal v'yav. Another point. Beis says she can even make even on the yavam. That means if the husband married her off, and let's say she's 8 years old, married her, she was 8 years old, the kedushin drabanan, and he died with no children, then she can even do yibam on. She can even do miyan on the yavam, even on the yavam. Beis Shammai says no, only on the husband, not on the yavam. Beis sees this. We'll see all this in the Gemara explanation. Beis Shammai Omer, the fun of Beis Omer from Shabbat. Beis says whether it's in front of him, in other words, or in front of, she could just say, I don't want to. We'll see later on the Gemara. She goes to the store and say, I don't want to stay married to that guy. That's miyan. You just have to know that she made the miyan, but it says there's no formal procedure. We'll talk about it. You're supposed to have a bezin. Shammai says the bezin, shlo bezin, whether it's a bezin or not. You still need a court of 3, even. But when he says bezin shlo bezin, means you don't need mumchim. You can even have 3 idiotos, 3 commoners. Could also be a bezin, but we'll see in the Gemara that the halach is you can even have 2, or even you can even have 1 person do it in front of 1 person, as long as there are edim that she did say that, and that's good enough for me. But again, as we said before, according to the Rambam, if she's less than 6 years old and she doesn't know what's going on, or even if she's 6 to 10 years old and she doesn't understand what it means to be married to the guy, she doesn't understand the ring. She just takes it and plays with it in the yard like other people, like kids playing in the street. She doesn't understand what it means. They don't even need me. She could have miyan many times, meaning her mother married her off at the age of 6, let's say, to somebody. She walked away from him. They married her off to somebody else at the age of 7, at 8, 9, 10, several times. No problem. Beis Shammai says no. They can't be hefker abandoned like that she just goes from man to man. That doesn't work. She makes miyan and only once, and then she has to wait until she grows up and she's bat mitzvah, and then she marries somebody else. Then the Gemara says v'tamoim v'tinase. So the Gemara is going to ask, what do you mean? She made miyan already. Why would she have to make miyan again? So we'll see. One shot is the simple shot is that she just confirms her miyan, and then she can get married. So according to Beis Shammai, you can only make miyan once. According to Beis Hillel, several times. So we'll see all this in the Gemara explanation. The first point is Beis Shammai says she can only make miyan if she's an arusa, meaning it was a marriage rabbanan, but then he didn't consummate. Why? Amar Rabbeinu Shmuel. My time at Beis Shammai. What's Rav Shammai's reasoning? Vishain Tanai ben Asum. Person can make a condition on a kedushin. I'm marrying you. Here's your ring. I'm marrying you. Almanas that you give me $2,000. She doesn't give him a, she doesn't, or a mas that you're a millionaire, let's say that you're a millionaire. Turns out she's not a millionaire, it's not a kedushin. However, when it comes to Nisuin, we don't assume that. Once he consummates and he lives with her, etc., we're assuming that there's chiba there, chiba yasera, that there's deep love, and he's mavatal any tanai. In other words, when it comes to Nisuin, there's no tanai. So we assume that if he married her, despite the fact that he found out that there was no $1 million there, right, that he married her, then that tanai that he made in the kedushin is batel, is annulled. So Beis Shammai says, listen, there's no time in Nisuin. In Nisuin, if we allow a minor like this case where the ketana gets married, the kedushin rabbana, and we allow her to make me and then, also maybe each time sin, people say, listen, they're not going to know. People in the street won't know. Hey, she walked out of the wedding. They won't know it's because she's a ketana. They'll say, oh, you know what? The reason she walked away from the wedding, there was no get. We didn't hear about any get. Must be that there was a tanai, there was a condition in the marriage itself. It wasn't fulfilled. So marriage is gone. It was never fulfilled. It was like the marriage never took place. It was annulled. Milach echila. It was never there. Inasun to mind. If you say that even a young girl can make mian once she consummated the marriage, and people say, well, how did she walk out without a get? Must be that you can make a tanai nisuin, and people will think there's tanai nisuin in a regular case or a regular adult. You can make a tanai, and that's not the case. All right, so that's fine when he consummated with her. What about nichnas l'chuppah v'lo nivala? Beis Shammai says only in a rusa, only if she's engaged, but not if there was a chuppah already. What about there was a chuppah, but he didn't have bia with her yet? He didn't consummate with her. What's Beis Shammai going to say there? You say in time, but Nisuin, once he lives with her, the condition is there's no conditions, and people think there could be conditions because you allow a Nisuin to walk away from a marriage with no get. What about if he only went into the chuppah and there was no bia there? What are you going to say? What's the reasoning there? Why Beis Shammai says that there's no mian? She's past the stage of arusa, so according to Beis Shammai, she couldn't make mian. They're Michael and Maimer. The same thing. There's no condition when it comes to a chuppah. Again, a chuppah also there is some love there. People think you can make it tonight in a chuppah too, and that's not the case. Michael, the answer is what Fishain Tanai b'chuppah. The same reason, because just like there's no Tanai but a suin, there's also no Tanai in a chuppah. So you say if you go into the chuppah, why shouldn't you be able to make mian there? Because there's no Tanai in the chuppah, and if you allow her to walk away, people will say that there's no Tanai in the chuppah either. So most of the shluchei abal Michael, whatever you're past the stage of arusa, and the father, or in this case, it's not the father, it's the brothers or the mother, gives her over to the shlichim of the husband. In other words, they take away. Now there's no, even if you say Tanai helps over here, what are you worried about? Shopper coming, says Rashi, Sherein kan chimba, there's no love here yet. He hasn't really taken her into the chuppah even. He has to not forget about consummating the name of Achle, the Tanai, the Kedushin. So what's wrong? There's no chibah. You can say, oh, he was mochel. People think you're mochel, the Tanai, the Kedushin here. People will think that. So what? There's nothing's happened yet. There's not even a chuppah, Michael and Maimer. So why does Beis Shammai say even there that you can't do mian? They said only a rusa, nothing more. There's no polygraph rabbanan. The rabbanan didn't make any difference between one nisuin and another. Whether it was just handing her over to the husband's shlichim, where the chassan and kal haven't met yet really, or going into the chuppah, or consummating. In all cases, the Beis Shammai said there's no didn't make any difference. Once you're past the stage of arusa, there's no miyun, because we're afraid that people will say that yesh tanai ben asu and yesh tanai b'chuppah. Beis Hillel, what does Beis Hillel say? Why aren't they concerned about it? Maybe people know the nesui ketana d'rabbanan. Everybody knows that the marriage of a ketana is only midrabbanan. When her brother or mother marry her off, it's only d'rabbanan, and therefore, even if she walks away without a get, people will not say, oh, you could yesh tanai ben asu, that there's that in a regular marriage you can have a condition in the nesuin, and the condition applies. People won't assume that because they know it's different with the ketana. That's a machlokes b'sham Beis Hillel according to one reason. Rav Yosef by a different reason. A person doesn't want. What's the reason why we have this business of a ketana marrying? Because a ketana getting married. Because the rabbi said we don't want her to be hefker. Her father's out of the picture for whatever reason. He's dead or he's married her off already. He's out of the picture, and we don't want her to be running around the street loose. People will take advantage of her. So the rabbi said it's better that she should be married. Okay, but a person wants to say, listen, I'm going to put my name on the line, I'm going to marry this girl, and she's just going to walk away. She's going to walk away. She says, I don't want you anymore. and she's going to walk away. So what happens to my marriage? I consummated with her. It's embarrassing. What was my deal with her? What was it? It was just prostitution. She's walking away. What happens to the marriage? The person doesn't want to make his bias, and therefore we say that we don't allow miyun after Nisuin, because otherwise people will be discouraged from marrying the girl. We want to encourage people to marry the kana, so she shouldn't be loose in the street. So people won't marry her. People doesn't want to make bilas nus, and therefore the takana of the Rabbanan encouraging people to get married will be effectively gone. It will be uprooted, because nobody's going to want to marry. Who wants to marry somebody, and then they can say tomorrow she could say, you know what, I'm out of here. I'm leaving, without any discussion, nothing, without any, they didn't come to court. You just, I don't want you anymore. As long as Adam saw that, we'll see that's good enough. So if he must be in this. Okay, so the Gemara says, let's say there was no bia yet, so he doesn't. There's no bias nus. Why can't you? Why according to Beis Shammai can't you have miyun when it's nichnas to l'chuppah v'lo nivlo? He didn't have bia yet, so nichel tavi chuppah d'isur. He doesn't want a chuppah d'isur, so it's still bilas nus. I'm making a chuppah over here, and she can walk away. Even if you say, if at that stage she wants to walk away, still Beis Shammai says no, you can't have miyun over there. Why not? Why not? What are you worried about there? Again, you guys, I don't want to have a chuppah over here. I make a whole chuppah, make a whole business, and she's going to walk away. So the whole thing was nus. But what are you concerned about over there? If there wasn't even, you weren't at the chuppah yet, just the father, the brothers, the mother gave her over to the shlichim of the Baal to get married. Why can't you make me in there? Again, lo poli rabbanan. So rabbanan didn't make a difference between one and another. And they said anytime after Erusin, there's no difference in one kind of a nesuin and another. Whether it's also called nesuin, just handing him over to the husband's shlichim, or a chuppah, or the actual consummation of the marriage. Either way, Beis Shammai says we don't want to discourage men from marrying these young girls. We want to encourage it. And if we say they can walk away, they're going to say, "Oh, so what was the whole thing for nus? I don't want that." Basil says, "Keeping the kedushin ksiba loss. I'm not going to say it's nus. I wasn't nus. I gave her a ring, and there was a ksuba. There was a whole procedure. The whole idea of marrying a ketana is that you follow the same rules as marrying a gdola, which is a kedushin d'oraisa. That you give her kedushin, you give her a ring, all right, mekadeshesly, you give her ksuba, the whole thing. People aren't going to say that's bilas nus, and therefore that's not going to discourage them from marrying the young girls. So that's two reasons so far why Beis Shammai says you don't do mian after once she's no longer an arusa. Once she's in the stage of nesuin, whether it's handing over to the husband or the chuppah or the consummation, no more miyun. Rav Papa says Tam Beis Shammai Shempere, Tam Beis Shammai Shempere. The reason why Beis Shammai says no miyun once she's no longer an arusa, once she's married, and Beis Hillel says there is miyun there, both of them is because of the fruits. Remember, a husband, once he marries a wife and she brings in fields and trees and things like that into the marriage, so he's entitled to use them. So Talmud Beis Shammai Shempere, the reason why Beis Shammai says you shouldn't make miyun after once they're married is because once they're married, he's entitled to the peiros. He's entitled to her fruits, to the produce of her fields. When there's erusin, she's not. He's not entitled when there's erusin, but once there's a suin, he's entitled to the fruits. If you say that once they're married, she can walk away, so he's going to figure, listen, I might as well do whatever I can, get as much as I can out of these fields, use them up. Shamit ba'achil lumina. I'll pluck them all down. I'll take everything out of there, use it up as fast as I can. Why? The sof lamay come. She's going to walk away. In other words, he's always figuring I'm under the clock. I better get whatever I can out of the field. Use it up. Drive the field. Get whatever I can out of it today, because tomorrow she can walk away from the wedding. Therefore, the rabbi said that no, don't do that. You can't make me, and according to Beis Shammai, you can't make me and once they're married, because if you say she can make once they're married, he will be encouraged to ruin her fields. Beis Hillel says, Adarabba, even the Amrit Tamoin, since you allow her to be, according to Beis Hillel, that you can make me and after they're married, he's going to improve the fields. So he figures like this: if I don't improve the fields, if I don't take care of the fields and properly, her relatives will advise her, she'll advise her to walk away if I ruin the fields. Just the opposite. He'll take good care of the fields. So therefore, that's the reason why you could make me and after they're married, to encourage him to take care of the fields. So you see, for the same reason for the fruits, Beis Shammai sees it one way, Beis Hillel says it another way. Rava says a fourth reason why Beis Shammai says you can't make miyun once they're married. Person doesn't want to go to the effort of making a wedding and getting a hall and spending the money and on the flowers and the meals and everything, and then it's for naught. She just walks away. Beis Hillel says Tavayu Neichalu. They both want, both him and her, kadei late, but Goliath called Aishas. People want to be known as being married. That means that they're good people, they're marriageable people. So therefore, even if he has a chance, that he might the wedding, all the food that he spent, all the money that he spent on the wedding meal is for naught because she walks away. He's still happy with it because he was known that he was married, and that's good for both of them. We have the concept of Tavla Meitzav Tandu Milamesav Arvila. Armila, she would rather be married than not be married, but he also wants to be known as being a married person. People shouldn't say that he's not marriageable. So therefore, we have all these reasons why Beis Shammai says that you shouldn't, that there's no miyun after they're married. Beis Hillel says there's miyun even after they're married. Again, we're talking about a young girl up until but not including the age of 12. A young girl, again, below 6, you don't even need miyun. From 6 to 10, according to Rambam, you check and see if she understands what marriage is. Does she understand that she's supposed to keep her ring and keep the ksuba and everything? Or does she not? If she doesn't understand it, she doesn't even need miyun because it's meaningless. It has nothing. If she understands it, then you need miyun. And above the age of 12, above the age of 10, then generally you need miyun. He says if it's above the age of 10, right? Above the age of 10, it's generally assumed that she understands something, right? Right, less than 10, still tzricha. Even if she understands a lot, she still needs miyun. So above the age of 10, the assumption is she understands it and she needs miyun. Okay, so miyun helps according to Beis Shammai only when she's an arusa, according to Beis Hillel even when she's an asua. Now, we said Beis Shammai says that miyun only helps on a husband. If the husband died and no children, so there's yibam now. Now, interesting. The marriage was only drabanan, but called the kakan rabbanan kain daraisa takan. So she goes now to her husband. Now you might say, but if there's no marriage, how could she marry to the brother? Well, if there's no marriage, then there's no problem in marrying the brothers. Either way, you go through the process of yibam. But can she walk away from the yavam just like she can walk away from the husband? Can she do that also? In other words, once let's say she doesn't want to marry the guy, right? Does she still need chalitza? She needs chalitza apparently. So we'll see now. Amar Voshia, according to Beis Shammai, there is no miyun on the yavam. Beis Shammai says only on the husband. There's no miyun on the yavam. And she's still a Tana, we're assuming now. She's not a Gdola. If she's a Gdola, you can't do miyun at all. But according to Beis Shammai, you can't do miyun on the yavam. According to Beis Hillel, you could. Okay. So when do you need miyun? So he says like this. Rav Oshi says, menes l'maimer ve'en menes l'zikaso. Miyun doesn't help on the zika. The zika, so to speak, is given by God, right? If the husband died with no children, she's supposed to marry the brother. Even though here we're talking about a kedushin drabanan. So the Torah wasn't speaking about this case, but still the zika is there, at least drabanan. So amanis l'mamaro, if he makes maimer, what's maimer? Remember kedushin drabanan, ben Torah, Yevamot, just he consummates the marriage with her and that's it. The brother makes him a Shimon. Reuben died with no children. Shimon just marries her and that's it. Midrabanan, they said, give her maimer, which is a kedushin drabanan. Give her a ring, etc., and give her money and make a kedushin, a star kedushin or kesef kedushin. Do it with maimer. So Rav Oshi says when Beis Hillel says you can make miyun on the yavam, you can make miyun on the maimer, the einam amenes lezikoso, but not on the zika. On that you still need chalitza. In other words, once they consummates with her, once he consummates with her with the yavam, so then presumably and he wants to give her a get, he can give her a get. If she wants to walk away, she can make miyun according to Beis Hillel. But the mian doesn't help on the zika. That's what Rav Oshia says. Amar Rav Chisda, my time Rav Oshia. Mimer, the midaita, mimer, which what that she accepted matzi akra, he can take away. Zika the balkarcha la matzi akra. Zika came not from the zika, the connection came automatic. Once her husband died, that wasn't something that she consented to. So the matzi akra. So she can't uproot that. She can't make that, annul that. So what do you mean? How right be the balkarcha? If the husband just marries her against her will, we had before in Akones in the 6th parak that it works even against her will. He helps against her will, even if he was forced himself upon her. It consummates the yibum umatziak, and that she can uproot with the zik. In other words, if the husband consummates with this young girl, she can uproot that. So matziakra. So it's not dependent on if she consented, it was consensual or not. Even if she didn't consent to it, she can make according to Beis Hillel, she can make mian on that. So it's not dependent whether she agreed to it or not. Something that he did, the bia or the mimer that the husband did, the yavam did, that she can uproot. Zika Rahman Ramala, Zika, which is like automatic, lo matzah, because she can't uproot that. So therefore, she would still need chalitza. So interesting. If the guy married her, if the yavam married the young girl, so she can walk away with me, and according to Beis Hillel, according to Beis Shammai, you can't. But according to Beis Hillel, she can walk away from that. Okay, but let's say he only made mimer. So Rav Oshia said, you only made mimer, you can make mian on the mimer, but it doesn't help for the zika. Which means, as we're going to see in a few minutes, according to Rav Oshia, if the mian doesn't help on the zika, that means that if she says, I don't want you, he could still marry her. Remember, we had by cases of a regular yavam, right? A woman, Reuben married to Leah, and he dies with no children. And then Shimon, let's say, doesn't know what to do. He gives her a get. Now, he can't marry her anymore. The brothers can't marry her anymore. Once he gives her a get, he starts the process, he can't do it. But over here, if you make mian, right, he can even marry her because the mian doesn't do anything to the zika. That's what the point of Rav Oshia is, and we'll see this as we explain it now. So according to Rav Oshia, the mian only helps against mimer or against consummation of the if he actually lives with her, but it doesn't help for zika. If he didn't marry her yet, it doesn't take away the zika, and you'd still need chalitza there. Ulamar menasaf zikaso. Mula says no. Mian takes away the whole thing. The whole thing is rabbanan anyway. So the marriage is rabbanan. The marriage to Reuben was rabbanan. The marriage to Shimon is also rabbanan. She can meet mian even to the zika. My timer. What's the reason? The sui kamoi kakar. She's uprooting the original marriage. What does the mian do? The original marriage is only drabanan, right? That Reuben married her. Her brothers or mother married her off to Reuben when she was a ketana, and the whole thing is drabanan. And now you can make mian according to Beis Hillel. You can make mian even on the yavam. You take away what it's doing is it's taking away the first marriage. So he was never married to the first one, and therefore there's no yibam on the second one. So we have this machlokes between Rav Oshia and Ula. Esvei, Rav Ula, if the mian takes away everything, takes away even the zika, what about in the first parak? Remember the first parak we had the 15 cases, and we said, let's say Reuben's married to Shimon's daughter, right? Reuben's married to Shimon's daughter, and Reuben dies with no children. So Shimon can't make Miyam his own daughter, so she's put there's no yibam, and there's no yibam chalitza even on her co-wives, on the co-wives that Reuben had also. Okay, but let's say when he was married to Shimon's daughter, she was a ketana. It was only a marriage drabanan. Shimon was alive, obviously, because we're talking about Shimon marrying her, but Shimon had married her off once before, whatever. So Shimon's wife married her off to Reuben, and she can make mian now. So the Mishnah says, if Reuben's daughter, who's married, Shimon's daughter, who's married to Reuben now, can make mian because she's only 7 or 8 years old, and she didn't make mian. So the tzara of Reuben does chalitza and not yibam. B'mai, why do you even need that? Tamoin. Why do you say you have to do chalitza? Not why do you even have to do chalitza? Why do you do chalitza at all? You can even make yibam. Let Shimon's daughter, who's married to Reuben now, according to Beis Hillel, that you can make mian even on a yavam. Why don't you say, and it takes away everything, takes away even the zika? Why can't Shimon's daughter make mian to Shimon, which will uproot the original marriage to Reuben? And then Shimon can marry the co-wife of Reuben. Again, Reuben was married to Shimon's. Reuben had a regular wife, a co-wife, right, a regular girl, and he was also married to Shimon, his brother's daughter, but she was only 7 or 8 years old. And according to Beis Hillel, she can make miyun. Now, why do we say that? Oh, the co-wife of Reuven should you do chalitza? Why? Shimon's daughter can now make miyun on Shimon, which will uproot the marriage to Reuven, and then the daughter can make yibam. The answer is Sarah Erva Shiny. It's different than Sarah of an Erva. In this case, the Sarah, the co-wife of Reuven, who's the co-wife of Reuven, of Shimon's daughter, who's married to Reuven, is different. If you make mian in a regular case, not in the case of Ibn, if you made mian on this husband, she could even marry the father. Why? Because the marriage is annulled. When it's mian, it's like there was never any marriage there, so she can even marry the father. Normally, you can't marry your father-in-law. If your husband dies, you can't marry the father-in-law. It's his daughter-in-law. You can't marry his daughter-in-law. But over here you could because you make mian. But still, if you made mian on the avam, then you can't marry the father. Why? Alma b'shas tefila, when she fell when Reuven died, nearest kekala, so it looks like Yaakov's kala, like Yaakov's daughter-in-law. B'shas tefila, nearest ketzaras pito. As soon as Reuven died, this woman is like the tzara of his daughter, so that doesn't look right. So therefore, you tell her to make chalitza, not yibum. But technically, in theory, you could. Ula says that mian takes away the entire zika. So in theory, according to this, it's only because it doesn't look good. But so you do chalitza. As we said before, when do you do chalitza? Normally, if there's no yibum, there's no chalitza. If you can do chalitza, you can do yibum. But there are cases we say either because it's an Isser Rabbanan, or for the rabbi said of Suffolk and things like that. So here too, the rabbi said, it doesn't look right. So therefore, better do chalitza. But technically, again, if Reuven's married to Shimon's daughter and he has a regular co-wife, and Shimon's daughter is 7 or 8 years old and can make mian, so when Reuven dies, she could just make mian to her father Shimon, which uproots the marriage to Reuven, and that there's no marriage there at all. And Reuven's other regular wife could marry Shimon, but the rabbi said, don't do it, better do chalitza. Fine. So we have this machlokas here between Rav Oshia and Ula. When she makes mian, according to Beis Hillel, does she make mian only on the marriage or on the mimer? But does it help for the zika? In other words, is to take away the zika if they weren't married yet, would you need chalitza or not? According to Roshi, you'd still need chalitza because it doesn't do anything to the zika. It doesn't do anything to the zika. It takes away a marriage, whether it was a kedushin like mimer or she was fully married, but it doesn't do anything to the zika. In the case where you need chalitza, it doesn't do anything to that. Whereas Ula says in Beis Hillel that the mian takes away everything, takes away even the zika. So again, according to Roshia, if she made mian on the yavam could still marry her, even though she made mian. The mian took away the marriage, but there's still a zika there, and therefore he can marry her. Okay, now we'll talk about this. Amar Rav, mian abezeh asur lazeh. If she made mian on one husband, let's say on the yavam, what about the other brothers? She made mian to one of the brothers, right? Shimon says, "I want to marry you," right? Or he even gave her mimer, right? So what do we say? He gave her mimer. Then what happens? If he made mian, she can't marry the other brothers either. Mian abezeh asur lazeh. Midi dahavi balas get. Just like as we said before, if Shimon gave her a get, Shimon wasn't married to her. Shimon was a brother supposed to do yibum or chalitza, right? Said he gave her a get. What happens? Gives her a get. She can't marry any of the brothers, right? Midi dahavi balas get. Balas get lav kiven the itzur lelachad. Once she's also to one of the brothers, itzur leku. She's also to all the brothers. Hachanami loshna. So Rav says, let's say we're going to have a three-way machlokas here. Rav says that if she made mian on one of the brothers, one of the Reuven's brothers, Reuven died with no children, she made mian on one of the brothers, she's also married everybody. Other brothers too. No, she only made mian on this brother. It's not the same as a get. The whole thing is drabanan. So what are the rules? What does the mian help? A get is like saying it's like a positive thing that he divorced her, right? But over here, where she made mian, she just refused this one. She can marry the other brothers. It's not like a balas get. Who the covered ba? The balas get when Shimon gave her a get, so he did some positive action, breaking off, trying to break off the zika. It's not complete. You still need chalitza, but it ruined the yibum. Can't do yibum anymore. So balas get who the covered ba? He covered the bay here. She says something to him. The Amalei, she says lo re'ina. I don't like you. Lo re'ina bacha. I don't like you. Below tzavina bacha, and I don't want you. I don't want you. Maybe I want one of the other brothers. What does mean? I don't want this guy. I don't want this guy. So again, it's not like he did something. She says, I don't want you. So maybe she should marry the other brothers. So far we have two opinions. Rav says if she made mian on one of the brothers, on Shimon, right? She can't marry Levi, Yehuda, or any of the other brothers. Shmuel says he made mian on one. You can marry the other ones. Rav Asi Amar, mian of Bezem Retar Safilu Lo. This sounds like I explained to Rav Oshia, that if she made mian on Shimon, she can even marry him. She can even marry Shimon. Why? Because as I said before in Rav Oshia, that mian does not affect the zika. It only affects the mimer or the marriage, but not the zika. Afilu. So Emek Rav Oshia Sfirle. So it sounds like he was like Rav Oshia, that the mian doesn't affect the zika at all. So the Gemara says he doesn't necessarily hold like Rav Oshia. Why? Because b'chad yavam hachanami. It could be if there's only one brother. In other words, when Shimon, this whole three-way machlokas here is if there are several brothers, right? If you made mian on one, can you marry the other brothers? Ravasi says no. Shmuel says yes, and Rav says no. Shmuel says yes, and Ravasi says you can even marry this brother. But that could be because there's several brothers, and the mian doesn't help on half a zika. In other words, it could very well be that Ravasi will hold when he says mutar. It could be that he would hold not Rav Oshia. Why? Because it could be it could be, let's say there was only one brother, Shimon. Reuben died, was only one brother, Shimon. Maybe it could uproot it. Maybe it would take away the zika too, like Ula said. But here we're talking about there's at least two Yavamin, because we said the other brothers. So there's at least Shimon and Levi, maybe Yehuda and Yisachar also. In other words, even if you hold like Rav Oshia says, mian doesn't help for zika at all. Fine. So Rav Oshia clearly says, even if there's only one brother, Shimon, and she made mian, she could follow up and marry him. She can actually marry and perform yibum there. But it's all drabanan, of course, but you can make the yibum. But it could very well be the Ravasi who says, then she made mian on Shimon, she can even marry Shimon. That's because there was a Levi there. And the mian might help, but it doesn't help. It only helps against one brother. Maybe maybe a whole like Ula, that helps one brother, but doesn't help if there's more than one brother, because mian can't take away. You can only do a half a zika. Can't ain't mian l'chatzi zika. If it can take away the whole zika, fine. But again, the mian is on one brother. I don't want you. So mian doesn't help on a half a zika or a third of a zika if there's several brothers. Kiyasa Rabban and Rabbi Yochanan. When Rabban came in from Eretz Yisrael, he said, "Rabbi Yochanan, mian of bezem muteres lachem." If she made mian on one, she's mutter to marry the brothers, which sounds like Shmuel, mian of bezem muteres lazeh. But they didn't agree with him. Naman Laho, who didn't agree with him? So Amar Abai says Rav, because Rav said mian of bezeh asur lazeh. So that could be simple. Rav says it could even be Rav Oshia. Why? Because it sounds here when there's several brothers, he says that mian of bezeh, right? Lo hodulo. He says muteres lachen. What does it mean, that it's also lachan? No, it could very well be that the lo hodula was Rav Oshia, who says even when there's only one brother. In other words, when there's several brothers, below hodulo, meaning because they said that it's also that below hodulo, that it sounds like only when there's several brothers it's muteris, but when there's only one brother, maybe it would be also. Rav Oshia says no, even if it's only one brother Shimon, you could still marry him. But Amilo Ravasi, some say it's Ravasi, because again Ravasi says mian bezem muteris afilu lo. Rashi explains, Amar Ravasi nami lo hodulo, but kolshkein Rav Oshia. So Rabbi Yochanan dafka la'achan amar below lo. Maybe when he said Rabbi Yochanan says mian bezem muteris la'achan. Why? Because it sounds like the brothers, but not to him. Rav Asi says you could even marry the brother, you could even marry him himself. So it could very well be could either be Rav, who says that it's asul that mina zeh muteres la'achim, or it could be the other way. Rav Oshia, who says that even if you made mina and there's only one brother, it doesn't mean anything. You can muteres afilu lo. And Rav Asi also says muteres afilu lo. Maybe that's lahodula, because mina b'sem muteres la'achin sounds like to the other brothers, but not to this brother. So Rav Asi says even to this brother, and Rav Oshia says even if he's the only brother, that it's mutter to marry. Okay, Rabbi Shammai Omer. Before I'm slow fun, Tanya Omer Beis Shammai. So Beis Hillel said that you can make mian even not in front of the husband. He doesn't have to be there. Only right. Beis Shammai says he's got to be there. So Beis Hillel said to Beis Shammai, "Velo Pishan was a story. Pishan, the camel driver, mian ishto, his wife walked away, made mian. Shlo b'fun if he wasn't there. Amar lehem Beis Shammai leBeis Hillel Pishan agamal b'mida kfusha madad. he measured with a defective measure, meaning he was a bad guy. He did something shalok hogan lefichach asulo shlogan lefichach modelo b'mida fush. In other words, b'mida shadamoted modelo. The way a guy was, that's how they treated him. Midikachal peira, since he ate up his wife's field, he ruined her field. He didn't take care of her field. So therefore, the rabbi said, you know what? Let her walk away from it, even though he's not there. So if that's the case, since he's eating the pears, she must have been married because he doesn't get the pears until they're married. According to Shama, how do you make me in at all? Once she's married, you can't make me in, according to Beis Shammai. Beis Shammai says it only helps on Arusa. Trey Kitri Avdu. They did 2 knots on him. In other words, they did 2 prohibitions on him, two chumras. Number one, that they allowed his wife to make me in even though he wasn't there, and they allowed even in a case where she was nesua. But how can they allow that if the Rabbanan said not? And so Tosfos brings up that question, like, you can't change the rules because of we're matter over here. Because the guy did something bad. He cheated in business. He cheated on his taxes. Because of that, we allow his wife to make me in, even when you don't normally allow me in. So Tosfos says it's probably over here. The Kushik Tana, since it's only Drabanan, since the Kushim was only Drabanan anyway, the rabbis, because he was not a good guy, the rabbis annulled his marriage. Chalitza we learned before at the beginning of the parak, at the beginning of the last parak. Chalitza needs 3. One shita was 5, but we said at the end Rabbi also agreed that it's only 3. But you need 5 for publicity, but you need 3 even if they are commoners. But you need 3. So Tananos Machalitza Baminan Bishlosha, me and also see. Mantan, who's the author of that? Rabbi Bishami. Abai says no, it's not just Beis Shammai. I feel Temer Beisil Sim Beisil. I can come Beisil El Duabin and Mumchen. Beisil says you don't need specialists, you don't need experts. Tamid Chachamim, Dayonim. Avol Shlosha being you need 3. At a time Beis Shammai B'fnei Bezin, it has to be in front of a bezin. Beisil some B'fnei Bezin Shlo B'fnei Bezin. Beil ve'elu modim shitzar Shlosha. The Bryce says more than our mission. Mission sounds like Beisil says bezin and not a bezin. Smashma, you don't even need 3. No. Beisil also says you need 3, but you need 3, but it doesn't have to be mumchim. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yossi Bar Yehuda, Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Shimon, machshirin b'shnayim. Rashi it says even 2 is good enough. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yumi, Rav Nachman, Allah says the Allah is like that pair. Then when it comes to miyam, not for chalitza you need 3, but for miyam, even 2 is good enough. And Tosfos says here, Pirush Rach Dafka b'di'evet. Avol chachil lo the machshirin di'evet. It's mashma b'di'evet. Even l'chachil you should have 3. But b'di'evet, 2 is good enough too. And the previous Tosfos says, "Who din b'chad el shetzarach leidus remina." Even 1 is good enough. If you don't need a bezdin of 3, even 1 person is good enough. As you usually say, like by Nadarim, you need 1 mumcha or 3 regular guys, right? So if once you don't need 3 and 2 is good, really 1 is good enough too. But you need Adam that it took place, and therefore Beisil says Beisil says you need 3, whereas the halacha is even 1 is good enough as long as there are Adam that it took place. Because you could have a dispute afterwards, did she refuse it or not? Even though the refusal can be very simple, as we're going to see in the next mission. Beshami says you can only do it once. So you can only do it once. Beisil says do it as many times as you want. Beshami says, what are you going to be? The Hefker, El Menas Montenis, she makes me in, waits till she's 12 years old, and then she makes me in and gets married. Why does she have to make it a second time? It says she makes me in. Only one time, you can't do it a second time. So you don't give her a chance to do it a second time. But they wait till she's 12, and then she makes me in and walks away. But she already made the me in before. So you wait till she gets 12. In other words, she confirms her first mian. But it means if it's just to make mian again, she just confirms that she wants to stay with her first refusal. Ula Amar Tartikon, it's 2 different cases here. Oshiman v'tagdil, the Tioris, either she makes mian once, let's say she's 8 years old, makes mian, waits till she's 12 and then gets engaged. Or she can make mian but gets married right away. Makes nesuin. Why? Because Beis Shammai says that once she's in a nesuin, she can't make mian anymore, right? It's only in a rusa. So either she's 12, either she's 8 and makes mian and waits till she's 12 to get engaged, or she can get married right away, but not just erusin. It's got to be erusin and nesuin, so she has no chance further to make mian. It's just because she can't make mian again. If she only gets engaged, she can't be mian. Because it says until she gets older and then gets married. According to Shmuel, said that the second mian just means until she gets old enough and confirms it. It should say until she gets old enough and says that I want to maintain that first refusal. So that's a kasha on Shmuel. Okay, but either way, we understand here the machlokes b'shama and b'sil. Says the Mishnah, what girl needs miyun? Kol she'isua uma, if her mother married her off, her mother or brothers, because her father was out of the picture, ledata, which with her understanding, with her consent. Let's say she says, I don't want to get married. All right, I don't even know what I'm doing over here. I didn't know about it. And she doesn't even need me, and she has to understand what's going on here. If she can't guard her kedusha, meaning she takes a ring and plays with it in the sand and doesn't consider it to be something of importance. She doesn't understand that it means that she's married, she's bound to this guy. And she doesn't even need me. In other words, if you just take a little girl into the house, a 4-year-old, she doesn't understand what it means, and therefore you don't even need me. And Rabbi Eliezer, what you do with a small child doesn't mean anything. It's not a marriage. It's just like he seduced her. In what sense does he mean that? Because he still needs mian. Means this. She can't eat truma. You might say she's married. Not really. It's only drabanan, and therefore she can't eat truma. We'll see even truma the rice for sure not. She's not married. But even truma drabanan she shouldn't eat. And Baskoin Yisrael talking about truma. If she's a Baskoin, she could still eat truma as if she's in her father's house. It's not really a marriage. It is the holding back because it's from the husband's point of view. It's like it's his wife. If it's not from the man but from the woman, it's ein ishto. What does this mean? The Gemara is going to explain several meanings for this. Several meanings. This doesn't mean that if somebody else wants to marry her now, is it because she says no, I can't marry you because I'm married to this guy? Then it's like she's married. But if she says, she says, no, I don't want to marry because I don't like you. She doesn't understand. She doesn't understand that she's married to the first guy. She can't marry the second guy. Then it's not like his wife, and then we wouldn't need me in. But we'll see the Gemara explain the different opinions in this. Just understand how do you actually do the miyam? Get me in. They used to write a get me in and say this was dictated to her. And she would write all this. They would write it down. And they would say, this is what she did. Lo Re'ina Bay, I don't want him. I don't like him. Below Sabina Bay, and I don't want him. But less on a boy, I don't want to be married to him. But once so much wording was going into it, you'll have Amaratzim Sofrim, some Sofrim apparently are Amaratzim, who would write Gittin, like Irish Persian, they'd use that to marry for Gittin. That's no good because a get has to mean that the man is kicking her out, not that she says she doesn't want him, right? She's not divorced from him, he divorces her, not that she divorces him. And Miyun is just the opposite. She says, I don't want you, I don't like you, I don't like you, I don't want you, I don't want to be married to you. So we're afraid you write such a long thing that people will use that same those same verses, those same words, they'll use that in a get. And therefore, Takina, they said, no. This is what they said. The Amploni, me and Aplonis, Basploni, Banpana. They said, listen, what are you writing again? Just to confirm that it was saying, on this day, the girl refused us, that refused the marriage. Yes. Sorry, I thought somebody said something. Okay. So in other words, all you write, she just has to say, I refuse. I don't want to marry this guy anymore. I don't want to be married to him. And they write down, and they write that down. They write down that this is what they write down. They write down that on this and this day, this woman refused the marriage to this and this guy in front of us. What happens in a miyam? What does she actually do? Amra ploni bali. I don't want this guy. I don't want this husband anymore. I don't want the kedushin that my mother or my brother I don't want that at all. Yesok and Rabbi said even more. I feel Yoshe's appeared even if she's sitting in the palace of her husband. And she's sitting nicely and she's walking from her father's house to her husband's house. I don't want him anymore. Even if she's entertaining guests in her husband's house, and she's serving them, it's like she's the woman of the house. I don't like this guy. I don't want this guy. That's considered that's good enough. Even if her husband sent her to the store, to bring something mishalo. Like in the store, she says, I don't want this guy anymore. That's good enough. In other words, all she has to say is, I don't want that mian, and that annuls the marriage. We'll pick it up from here tomorrow. Have a good day, everybody. Be well.